All right. Pizza, how's it going, man? All right. All right. Welcome aboard. Let's see if pizza has dropped in. All right. So cool, cool, cool. Oh, hey, pizza, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, good. Thanks for hopping on with me. This is great. You're a protocol that I've been wanting to talk to for a long time because I think you've been in the I mean you've been in this space for a while too since September, about the same time we got in.
Yeah, September's really when we kind of blew up. And yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always down to talk prediction markets and pizza. So
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I get some lag on my stream. Hopefully I don't. Yeah, this is what I look like, by the way. Sometimes I show my face, sometimes I don't.
yeah,
Um, but okay, looks like it's going good. Okay, so yeah, I guess the first question I have for you, we have your site up right here. My first question for you is what maybe if you want to start out with an introduction, like who you are, what you're building, and kind of how you got into the space.
sure. Yeah, we are Pentagon Pizza Watch, Pizza or Pizza Watch for short. That's our URL. And we started tracking the nearby pizza places from the Pentagon because we had been looking into like the edge that could be found there, and obviously it's a long running theory. If you know a little bit about the history of it, so we launched our pizza intel dashboard, and it monitors the six nearest pizza places from the Pentagon, just using the openly available data from Google. And we kind of what we chose to do was comprise the six places into one, DEFCON score. Obviously, this is not meant to reflect the DEFCON system that the military uses, but we thought it'd be fun to use kind of that classification. And yeah, the DEFCON score reflects kind of the abnormalities happening in regard to the pizza activity. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much how we began, and from there we've been building out other tooling for prediction markets. We're partnered with Polymarket, and I'd love to talk about some of the other features maybe later on, but that's pretty much the gist of pizza.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, the site is so full. It's so packed full of features that it's crazy. I mean, like, you know, and it's fun too. It's like just the way you're designing it. I would say that it's almost like you know, you're a builder, but you're, you know, at the same time, it's kind of it's very like the design is great. Like the design quality is really next level, which we'll get into later. But I'm kind of curious about I saw you post a tweet a couple days ago, and you were talking about like a thesis that you were coming into this market, and you guys blew up. You got a lot of traction very fast, and I'm just curious about your thesis, kind of like, and you talked about it a little bit before, but like, what was your initial kind of thesis? Like, why prediction markets? Why the product that you decided to build?
Yeah, I mean, plain and simple, I think there's a lot of edge to be found right now on Polymarket and prediction markets, just based on how early we are, and we haven't really reached that efficient market kind of threshold yet. I think there's a lot of edge to be gained if you just kind of use creative methodologies, and yeah, our whole thing is kind of basically alt data. So what data is available out there, and like how can you kind of skew it um, to use it as some sort of edge. Like there's so many possibilities, and with the advancement of technology now and AI, it's really rapidly evolving, and there's a lot of things you can do there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, at this point, and it's key for prediction markets to have that, right? Constantly kind of rapidly evolving data. I think it's going to get, and I also feel like it's, you know, at the same time, prediction markets are only really possible because of the extent of the data that we have. I don't think at any other time would there be enough bandwidth to like track all the information you need to for all of the markets that we have. So it's you know, like we're at like an interesting point where this space is blowing up. Um,
Definitely, yeah,
one
very
of the
very
things,
exciting times when you look at the technology, and the fact that prediction markets are kind of finally opening up and starting to become mainstream.
yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, I agree 100%. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you too is how big is your team? Are you a solo dev or do you have a team of people working with you? You know, like what's the story there in terms of like how you met? Um, you know, curious as to that.
Right. Yeah. So very small team. Um, I've collaborated with people on the development side. Shout out to Hydra, who collaborated with me on the GDELT features. But full time, I am the solo dev, and I've got another friend, working with me on kind of the business development side. But full time is just me and a few others kind of advising and helping as we move.
And are you kind of new to the blockchain space or are you tenured? Like have you like in terms of your background, like have you been in the like as far as blockchain goes? Because I know there's a blockchain component. It's mostly prediction markets, but curious
Right.
as to what your background is in terms of that.
Yeah, I'm somewhat new to the blockchain space. My partner is definitely more tenured than I in blockchain.
Uh, do you do you like it so far? What's your impression of blockchain? I think it's really cool. I've been in it for since 2020
I love
2021
it,
is when I
man. Yeah,
began.
I love it. It's like a super supportive community in crypto, and like everybody, for the most part, wants to see each other do well and collaborate. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You guys also have a token, which I'll get into later. But I think there's kind of a cool story there, and there's some cool stuff you're doing with it too. Um, so one of the things I wanted to ask you about is I think the product that you kind of first blew up with is let me see, there's a bunch of them, but the one that I wanted to talk about is the globe. This product is really cool. And basically, if you kind of want to just get into what it is, like explain like what you kind of did here, but essentially it's this globe, and it just has all sorts of data mapped onto it, which is perfect for prediction markets. Um,
Yeah, thank you. So Polyglobe is one that is kind of, I would say, starting to become kind of our flagship product. I would say by far that it's been the most spent developing. So it's becoming kind of our flagship. But the idea around Polyglobe is really to just become the visualization and the global context layer for those geopolitical markets. Because once we decided we were going all in on kind of the geopolitics niche and focusing on that, it seems like a no-brainer to literally map those out with geotagging and just make it a super interactive and really just a fun way to discover markets and kind of monitor the situation uh, with many possibilities for data points to be displayed.
yeah, and you guys like people honestly they love this product. I mean, it got 7 million impressions I think for your last post. Went viral. What was the process to kind of building this map? Like, what if you kind of want to get into your process? There's so much data going on. I'm wondering like, what was your process of getting? What was that like? A
Yeah.
challenging kind of process to go through.
Really just step by step. I started just very simply just like what if each market could be geotagged by AI and just displayed. So that was step one. You can go back in our like tweets and you'll see that was the first thing we launched, very basic, just markets displayed on a globe with blue dots. And then what if tweets could come in and get geotagged. So we added that. And then the Ukraine war map, um, which updates daily and can be displayed kind of to provide further context with those types of markets. And we just kept going from there pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, the product is like, I feel like it's on a level where it would be useful to like actual military personnel. Like, I feel like it's, because it's so detailed. Have you come across anyone who has been like, like, I'm just curious, what have people approached you with use cases? Or, I'd be super curious to see what your DMs look like, for instance. I'm
So
not going to get, you don't have to get into detail, but that's, I'm not going to lie. I'm curious about
so
that.
I'll go out and say this ambitiously, okay? The North Star for Polyglobe is to be displayed in the command room, like how they released those situation room photos, and it was the account Scent Defender was on the Twitter screen. So that's the North Star for us. But as far as any serious inquiries, are you talking like from outside of prediction markets, like
Yeah.
serious intelligence?
Like
No,
like news, intelligence, for anyone from that category, I guess.
not any, not anything serious from that side, but prediction market space. We've had several people reach out about it, uh, but that would be super cool if there was some use case there.
Yeah, I saw that. I think Pete Hegseth is following you, which is really cool.
He did,
I'm
yeah.
not sure if that's
In November or something. It was, yeah, that was a crazy thing to wake up to.
yeah, yeah, that is wild. And just kind of touching on that, like while you were building this, while you were kind of creating the globe, what are some of the craziest observations you found just in the data? Like, obviously, it sounds like this is a newer kind of space. This is a first time project. I'm just curious, like, if, with all this data that you're kind of mapping, are you seeing any interesting trends that you've
Yeah,
never seen?
I can give you a pretty good example of that. Um, Sometime in early November, when I was kind of exploring, researching, new data layers for the globe, and I started looking to NASA's firms database and API, which is all the thermal anomalies, basically like fires all over the planet. And what I was wondering is whether something like that could potentially pick up the drug boat strikes that were going on in
Hmm.
the Caribbean or Eastern Pacific. And I would say with pretty high confidence, once I compared all the information available, um, that we did find a strike in the Eastern Pacific. I'll pull up the tweet for it now.
Do you want to share your screen? You can actually do that.
If I can do that, then yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you go down to that plus sign, you can share your screen. I don't know if you see it at the bottom there.
All right, let's see. Okay, can you see there?
Yes.
All right, so this was kind of a breakthrough discovery for us. The U.S. had been conducting those narco boat strikes for months at that point, and based on this information, we found this little red dot, which represents a thermal anomaly or an explosion or a fire, right in the Eastern Pacific, about 410 miles southwest of Acapulco, Mexico. So that nearly perfectly lines up with the reports that some Mexican news outlets were saying. As you can see, 400 miles from the city of Acapulco, and the military, they release these videos, but they don't like share exact coordinates. But almost perfectly lines up with that reporting, as well as the date, time. And the thing with these strikes is not all of them are going to be picked up by the satellite due to cloud coverage or just the flame or explosion not being kind of large enough. But this particular video that they released, the boat clearly is like massively engulfed in flames, and it looks like that's like a raging fire that's going to last for like maybe hours. Whereas most of the videos they're releasing, like the explosions are not that large. So that kind of means that if this one was the strike, it would explain why, right?
Hmm.
So again, most of them are not going to be caught by this, but we do believe that we found this one. So what we did was we implemented this data into the polyglobe by kind of like masking those routes that actually those narco routes that matter, um, to kind of cancel out the noise. There's some oil fields obviously in the Caribbean that we had to mask out, but yeah, that's kind of the most interesting discovery I've had so far. was that one.
Yeah, it's just amazing how you also kind of took that, because there is like I believe there's a Pentagon Pizza report, but you guys are taking it like a lot farther than that. I think it started as like it was kind of Pentagon Pizza report, and then but now it really does seem like this is becoming like a geolocation data hub. With all the things you got
Right.
going, and probably one of the better ones in prediction markets right now, I would say. If not the most premier one, where it's where you're able to kind of see all this data at once. Um, the other thing that I'm really interested in too is uh, you just launched a product where it's like I think it's it's called like Gay Bar uh, Pentagon Watch or something like that, which is the same concept as the Pizza Watch, right? But instead it focuses on these bars, which I actually think is genius.
Correct.
Let me just go to your site real quick.
That was another. That's been another theory that's kind of been resurfacing, and we did have it in before. Kind of, it took it away at one point because it didn't seem to be all that requested by users, but it's back up now. So you can monitor Freddy's Beach Bar and the Little Gay Pub. And yeah, I mean, the signal there arguably, could be on par with pizza when you think about it. So,
Wow, yeah, this is interesting. So like in terms of this, what is the theory behind this? Does this apply to bars like just around the pen? Is it the same thing like late night, like people at the Pentagon are trying to have a late night, or like, they're up all night, they want to relax for a little
exactly.
bit.
Yep.
Interesting.
And you're only gonna, the signal's stronger, obviously, on Friday night, Saturday night, maybe a Thursday night than it would be on a Monday. Same thing with pizza. The DEFCON algorithm kind of tries to factor in that, lunchtime and the fact that, maybe the signal's stronger on the weekend and you want that sustained activity. So yeah, that's kind of what I would advise people to monitor with this.
Honestly, it gives me so many ideas, like just like looking at what you're doing. And I think like, obviously I don't want to like step in and be like, oh yeah, do this, but like, man, like I'm looking at this and I'm starting to think about other countries. I'm starting to think about, okay, well, if you can get this data from Washington, could you also get this data from like other places as well? Would that be valuable?
So first of all, all ideas are welcome, to me. I think there's so many creative ways you can take this with alt data. But funny story from actually somebody in our community who's a Russian gentleman, and he's apparently there's a thing in Russia, and it's like a known thing that on the night or the nights leading up to the Ukraine invasion, all the prostitution, like the nearby prostitution rings that kind of delivered to the Kremlin, they all had no business. So that's just another example of where you can take this. Obviously, that data is not available. The Kremlin escort report, unfortunately, but just another example of the ways you can take this.
Right, and it kind of ties into your theme of alt data, right? Like this is alt data. This is like data for prediction markets that you would not expect. You would not expect this type of data to be correlated with, you know, whatever, like an attack on Caracas or something, right? Like you would not expect that, which I think is like kind of like the direction that you want to continue to go in.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, there's just like I said before, there's many ways to find edge right now, and just being creative with it and understanding narratives and kind of what retail traders are wanting.
What is this is a product that I thought was really interesting, and this is Polyglobe, by the way. Um, but one of the things I like, this is actually pretty interesting because this is the one of the first kind of mention hubs I've seen where you basically, yeah, maybe like explain this a little bit because I think this could be really useful for people trading mention markets. I haven't seen too many of these.
Yeah, so this is Mention Hub. We started by ingesting every Trump transcript out there. So every press gaggle, every speech, every interview is going to be ingested into that database. Um, and we started just with Trump, but obviously can be expanded wherever mention markets, take place. Jerome Powell, every company's earnings call obviously is publicly available. So, we ingested this transcript. We put the mention markets up there, and we kind of wanted that one-click analysis. So you can actually just click analyze on any of those markets, and it's going to give you a rundown of the last 90 days. Is he saying this term more frequently, recently? And actually, probably the most alpha that you can get from this tool is if you click analyze, and then if you look at the precursor terms, so that is what he's saying leading up to that target term for the mention market. So you chose the low IQ term, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those precursor lifts, the card in the bottom right, those are all the most frequent 2 to 3 word terms that he says leading up to low IQ, right? So
That's great.
Trump in particular, his speech patterns are very well known and consistent. He'll start saying something one week and then he'll repeat it. So I think there's a lot of alpha that can be derived there just from, if you're a live mention market trader, you're watching these live streams and he says something kind of 20 seconds before, maybe 20 seconds after that low IQ is coming. So
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I was just going to ask as you were explaining this, um, so much of mention markets is just like, what is he going to say around leading up to it? And you can see volume spikes. I mean, you could even just play. You don't even have to play the word. Like you could just play like the lead up, right?
right,
What is he going to say
right.
leading up to the actual mention? Sell right before he says it or don't say it. I've seen people do that who are really good at tracking Trump.
Yeah. I mean, he's a character who I feel like it can be very easy to predict what's coming just based on his repeated patterns.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. I think I think like it's so funny with mention markets too because the mention markets that always get me are I think the biggest loss I took was one mention market I was trading where it was I think the president of Syria, his first White House press conference. He never showed up to the press conference, so everything was a no.
Yeah, those
Um,
ones are tough.
so
Yeah.
you get it's the stuff, yeah, like you get like like the new markets are it's interesting and it's kind of a tangent, but like it seems like newer markets are always no's. I don't know if that's true, but it seems like they're very likely going to be no's all around if there's no data backlogged, which I find interesting. But I have no way to prove this. I haven't like proven this yet or anything. Just
Right. Yeah. And then one more thing you can do that's pretty cool is you can just click play clip on any of those results, and it should, as long as the video is successfully fetched, it should allow you to see exactly what he says on the video, so you can kind of scrub backwards. And
oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is really cool.
so it should jump to the time that he says it.
Oh yeah, he's saying it
He's
right there. I can see him say
attempts to, yeah.
I heard him say it. He was like, "This Congresswoman IQ." Yeah, I think this is like one of the. It's. Is there any other products like this right now that you've seen? Because this is pretty in depth.
There are other, mentioned databases out there. That's pretty much just like a database of transcripts with like search capabilities. But I wanted to build the I mean the main idea here was like, what if you could just one click analyze instead of having to search and then draw your own kind of conclusions. But like I said, we have plans to expand it to Jerome Powell, company earnings calls, whatever is the consistent mention market out there.
And is AI involved in this, or is this mostly just data being like how sophisticated is the AI behind this, or is this just like kind of like good API sorting,
This,
mechanism behind
as
this?
it stands right now, it's all just deterministic, like computing. But there is definitely a lot of ways you can go with AI in mention markets. For example, just training a model literally on somebody's speech patterns, like that's definitely something we're going to see happen. Who knows who's going to build it, but as of right now, there's nothing AI in there.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting day when you have
Maybe
like,
that's I know that you guys have a deep research API.
oh
So
yeah,
maybe that's somewhere where it could come into play, because it's really hard to, I could add a little AI component that attempts to like gather real time context, but I found it's very difficult to really get like real time. Um, if something happened earlier that day that adds further context, sometimes the AI can miss it, but that's just what I've found. So
yeah, and I think that it's definitely one of the theses that I have, or a hypothesis that I have, and I think a lot of people have it, that eventually when the AI agents kind of learn more about, when we have all this data and the AI agents are plugged into it, I think it's going to be very interesting. And I asked this to the Polysites founder. I'm like, at what point do you think, right now I still feel like it's very hard for an agent to get an edge in a prediction market. Like we've seen a lot of people coding up bots and agents and all this other stuff. But I still think that the amount of kind of sophisticated research that you have to take in and just contextual information is only suitable to like a really informed trader. Um, at what point is that edge going to be lost, right? And
totally,
I'm curious about that.
totally agree. Like I would be very, very surprised if there were any AI agents out there that were like really profitable, and like I just haven't seen it. But I think everybody agrees that at some point that will be the case. Like they're going to be quicker than humans. They're going to have more context. So that'll be very interesting for sure.
Yeah. Um, okay. Let's see. One of the things. Okay. I want to talk about your viral tweet that happened a few days ago, because it was pretty crazy. And I essentially, this tweet, I think this is the
Yeah.
tweet.
Yes.
Predicted,
Yes.
yes, and you essentially predicted the attack on Caracas. I shouldn't say invasion. I should say like assault, or there was some controversy about that.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm just wondering, like, so what was that like? Like, what was the experience like watching that kind of take place and unfold? I'm just curious about some of if you observed anything during that.
So yeah, this was afternoon. Um, Somebody else posted a screenshot from the dashboard, like literally at 12:45 a.m. And that was Papa John's having a huge spike. So you can see their baseline the baseline is the blue bars. That's like the baseline popularity. So at like 12:45 a.m. there was like a big spike, and according to Google, their popularity is really low. So that was like 700% at 12:45 a.m. I believe the invasion started around like 1:30 a.m. I won't call it an invasion either. The operation started at 1:30. There was this account called New York Prepper that posted that. So that one got like 8 million views. It was just a screenshot of the dashboard. Unfortunately, I was sleeping, so I wasn't monitoring the situation. I didn't, I had no idea. But obviously woke up to it, and it was pretty crazy.
And was it was it a lot of people from that area who were kind of interested in this tweet? Did you observe later that, oh wow, there's a lot of people from Venezuela who are actually using this information?
Yeah, and actually, yeah, there has been a lot of Venezuelans like leading up to this. So over the past, few months, like I've gotten a lot of Venezuelan follows and retweets, quotes. So it's like it's super interesting to see that people all the way down there are using the Pentagon Pizza intel. I've even heard apparently they have their own kind of conspiracy theory where like whenever the McChicken or the McFilet is added back to the McDonald's menu, like something crazy happens. It's just something I saw on Twitter.
That is just funny, man. It is very funny that like each country has their own thing. It's like, that's going to pop off. That's going to indicate their own alt data. That's going to kind of indicate.
Right. What about Russia's doomsday radio? Have you heard of that?
What's that one?
There's this one radio that's always just playing white noise, but like every once in a while it plays this creepy Russian song, and it like indicates a massive military action.
Oh, that's not as fun as pizza. That's like
that's a little but
interesting. We have one question from Riley. Actually, let me pull it up here. He says the McRib back indicates what again?
Oh, he's asking. I know Riley. That's Riley from Synthesis. Let me try to find it for you because I bookmarked it.
Yeah, you could if you want to share your screen again too. I think mine is still up.
Yeah, if I can find it here. Oh, it's the McFlurry. Okay, the McFlurry. I'll share.
Interesting.
This is just the tweet I saw. Every time a new McFlurry gets announced in Venezuela, something historical follows, and it always happens.
Yeah, it's just really funny. I mean that this is a thing. There's just so much data out there that is like that we don't know about that could indicate something. And it's funny. It goes back to AI. Like maybe AI can pick up on some sort of speech pattern or some weird thing that indicates something's coming or something. Oh yeah, he says. Riley says that McRib is the U.S. recession indicator.
Right. Yeah.
So even beyond geopolitics, there's all sorts of alt data that could indicate something.
There's the Waffle House Index. That's a really good indicator for how severe like a hurricane in the southeast was. How many Waffle Houses in the southeast are open the following day after a hurricane? That's less of an indicator and more of like a damage assessment. but still really interesting how these things are used.
Yeah, 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 it's fascinating. Yeah, it's just it boggles my mind. So I guess my other questions. I only have a couple more questions for you. I know I haven't been keeping track of time. I hope we're not going over too much. Um, but I'm curious on if you found any sort of insider activity on Pentagon Pizza, or if there's anything that you've built that you know that kind of like insider tells that you've been able to pick. Well, I guess the whole thing is insider. I guess like Pentagon Pizza in itself is insider. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so so maybe we'll skip that.
So, well, yeah, interesting. I've got a small something to share on that.
Oh yeah,
Um, well, obviously everybody's building out insider detection, right? And most of it is, like a fresh wallet, large first trade, or only trades on unique topics. But something we're going to be building out is kind of location based smart traders or smart wallets. So like through Polyglobe, like what are the wallets who are consistently trading Iran or Ukraine better than others? Those might not be insiders. They might just people who are super engaged with the situation in that location. But I think there's value in geopolitics in like finding out the best wallets for these specific places, right? So without sharing too much, that's kind of a direction that we're going to take.
interesting. So kind of like based off of so maybe wallets that are location tied essentially, or that you can figure out the location of those wallets.
Right. Or, they don't have to be located in that place, but if somebody is clearly well versed on the situation in China or Ukraine, then, they're considered a sharp for that region basically.
Interesting. It's have you tied in like how like have you gotten like very specific with Twitter accounts, for instance, like in monitoring like what's going around the globe, there's probably like you could probably monitor like Twitter activity or something like that
Right.
and see if it coordinates with global movement. I'm curious if you've gotten
Yeah.
into.
There's plenty to do there. The bottleneck is that X API is very expensive.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, we obviously just have the OSINT feed from kind of those trusted and reliable OSINT accounts. But I think, as you already mentioned, there's so much to do with Twitter activity because, with the Venezuela operation, the first people tweeting about it were just Venezuelans in their apartments. Maybe some in Telegram, but like, a lot on Twitter were just like videotaping the helicopters coming in. And I think there's clearly something super valuable there.
yeah. It's also like if Twitter activity stalls, right? Like if something like if a whole swath of Twitter accounts are like showing weird activity, like maybe they're going dark or whatever, like that
Yeah.
could indicate something. And now that they're all regional, you can tell like where they're from. Maybe you could get some sort of indication from that as well. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
to your point, the API is a pain in the butt. I have experience working with that.
Yeah. It's a shame that can't be more accessible because, you just think of how many tools and how many apps could be built out with the X API.
So I have two more questions for you, or three more questions. My first question kind of goes back to your product a little bit. Like, what are you guys planning on building, um, for the future? What projects do you have upcoming? I think you hinted at one already. and then maybe if you want to talk a little bit about PPW as well and how that ties into your ecosystem.
Sure. Yeah. So obviously the location-based smart wallet detection that I just mentioned is on the roadmap. I've actually got something new coming out. Maybe like right after this call, maybe tomorrow morning. Really depends when it's production ready, but it's the nothing ever happens index, right? So we all know that nothing ever happens, bros. The meme, right? Who just are skeptical that anything major will ever take place, and that history has stopped evolving, right? So it's really just a gauge. Think like fear and greed, the fear and greed index, but for prediction markets and geopolitics, and it's about 30 or so, like kind of highly influential, or like the most history altering markets from Polymarket. So China invades Taiwan, US and Russia engagement, things like major regime changes. And it's just a gauge on, is anything happening right now? Will something maybe happen? Is something happening? Or something has happened? So that's pretty much the gist of it. It'll be out very soon, and maybe I'll give a quick little UI glance at it if
Oh
if
yeah.
I can share my screen one more time.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I get a lot of people saying PPW too, so that's very bullish on the token.
Yes, very strong community. Um, all right. So as we can you see the screen?
Oh, I think you might have to press the plus sign again. Let's see. Hopefully it works. Is it working?
On my screen, it has the little, this tab's content being shared.
Let's. Oh wait. Oh, there it is. There it is.
So there you go. As you can see, currently nothing ever happens, and out of that compiled list of high risk markets, the most likely one right now is that Khamenei will be out by February. Judge would say nothing will happen, nothing ever happens.
Yeah, I like this because I can't wait to see it. Like when something happens, it just goes immediately to red.
Right. Yeah. We will. When something happens, it'll go right on Twitter.
That's the day you don't.
And yeah, this is just a first glance. If you want to monitor the situation, you want to know if something's happening, just look at the nothing ever happens index, and you will get your answer.
Cool.
Because another one of our theses is really just that Polymarket is the news. Polymarket's the global fact check nowadays, I think, at least.
I would agree. Yeah.
There's journalism, but I think everybody in this space already knows. The prediction markets where skin is in the game and truth gets rewarded is really where you got to be looking for your information.
Yeah. And it's refreshing too. I mean, there's a lot of things about Polymarket that people are getting used to. But I think one of the coolest things is that it is kind of becoming the de facto fact checker, right? Like if someone's saying something crazy, you can come back and be like, "Are you sure about that?" Right?
Right, right.
Um,
I
which I
mean,
think is pretty cool.
yeah, one of my favorite things to do on Twitter right now is just like, there's plenty of these OSINT reporting accounts, but some are very alarmist, like tonight's the night, it's something very big has happened. And then just replying with the Polymarket uh, link. And it's just like, no, that's very unlikely. Somebody said outright today that Khamenei had already fled to Russia. Meanwhile, the market was still at like 4%. So very, very much
Yeah.
becoming the fact check of the world.
So, okay, so I want to kind of close it out here. I think we've talked about a lot of really cool stuff, but I kind of want to close it out with your token and just maybe if you want to talk briefly about. I mean, I hate asking about tokens because a lot of founders don't like talking about the token, which is understandable. I mean, no one wants to like shill or anything like that. But I have to ask the question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of
So I'm just wondering, curious about how PPW kind of fits into your ecosystem. What you're doing with it. Any plans you have upcoming.
Yeah, so PPW is the community and utility token for the protocol. The utility as it stands right now is 1 million PPW grants access to the alpha alerts Telegram channel. So we have our main just community group chat, but there's also an alpha alerts channel that a lot of people don't know about yet, but they should because there's certain real-time notifications there that are really helpful, such as the thermal anomaly detection. So obviously it's all available to browse on the Polyglobe, but if you're in this channel, you get those alerts instantly. So like there's been a few times now, and like I said, not all of these are captured, but on a few occasions, our traders in there have profited from these thermal anomalies. So we have those going out. You have the instant mention market analysis. So same idea, like it's all available on the site, but the alpha group members get instant analysis breakdowns like the second that a new mention market is detected. So you have that, thermal anomalies, and the rules changes, which is very rare, but we built out just something that detects when the Polymarket team changes rules in like a market description, because sometimes there's like some clarifications, and kind of being the first one to get educated on that can clear some things up and provide edge. So yeah, I mean it's still a small and growing group, but that's what 1 million PPW grants you right now, and we definitely have further plans to utility and integrate it kind of more deeply into the project.
Cool, man. I'm really excited about the project personally. I mean, I've been following this project for a really long time, and I just love what you guys are doing. Um, and I think, like, just from a builder's perspective, just the way you're going about designing everything is really cool. Um, I guess closing note is I ran the market to look at right now, like in terms of just activity, what's going on. Like, is that kind of like the place of focus in terms of geopolitics? A very broad question, but just want to get your opinion because I'm looking at it. So
Yeah, I think it has to be. When you look at like the scale of these protests, it's like we think in the United States, there's protests going on. There's protests going on right now. But when you look at the scale of these Iran protests right now, it's like pretty insane to see.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of reporting about the potential that Khamenei flees. It seems like Trump is really serious about taking action if the regime kind of is too destructive against these protesters, which I know they've already taken shots. So it could be an opportunity for the U.S. and Israel as well to kind of show that they're going to stand on that word and take action to kind of end that. Just what I think. I'm seeing a lot of it. Maybe I'm just in that bubble on my Twitter feed, but
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, just from what I've been watching, I do have a small bet to that degree. Not too big, but a small bet on the Khomeini being out market. Um, so we'll see what happens. I've bet on that market multiple times before, and nothing's happened. I think multiple times last year I bet on it. Fortunately, I evened it out with some of the other markets I bet on. But
yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I know these things have, there's always uprisings in that region, then they die down once things get violent. But something just seems kind of different about this one, with the fact that, kind of the temperature in the room after, the Venezuela action. And I think my view on Trump right now, and how I feel like he wants that Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
And I think he's just going to try to take as much action as possible to kind of get that. So, I mean, what does kind of ending an oppressive regime do for those odds?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he decides that he's going to go for it.
Yeah. Well, Pete, it was great having you on. Thanks again for coming on. I mean, this was a great stream. We got a lot of information from this. So yeah, just thanks for coming on. Keep me updated on what you're launching. I'd love to get you back on the show.
Thank you, man. It's been a lot of fun. I would have absolutely love to come back. We're always evolving, so I'm sure in a couple months, there will be more features and more things to talk about. So definitely happy to do it again if you'll ever have me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, would love that. Cool. All right. We'll see you later.
All right, John, have a good one.